welcome to the Game Summit. Just a little bit about myself. I work at Second Dinner. We are a game studio behind Marvel Snap, which we just launched last year. And I work on a bunch of technology functions over there, including AI. Before Second Dinner, I was working at Riot Games, Blizzard, work on some games. Hopefully some games you folks played or like, not too much game you folks hate. So before that I was at UCLA, so it's really awesome come over here back home to talk about AI and gaming. It's really interesting. Just a few 15 years ago when I was here, it was a pretty big debate, like when AI is gonna actually be relevant to this world, right? Just it's bizarre. Just 15 years ago, people are like, probably it's gonna happen in 3 decades, in 100 years. It's so academic. It's probably not gonna be something in our life, in our lives. But fast forward, now it's happening. I think it's actually having a profound impact in gaming. So when we think about AI in gaming, one of the first things we probably think about is the non-player characters, the NPC, right? That thing has been there forever. If you think about Pac-Man, think about Mario, it's basically the way when players interact with the game, through the environment, through the minions, the monsters, everything over there. The AIs there, they are all handcrafted, but they will give you some sense that they probably know something, they're probably thinking, they're probably competing with you, generating that very immersive experience. Fast forward a little bit, the same type of thinking, generating the immersive experience through rich interactions of the characters in the game. The NPC today is widely different from what it was many years ago. So one of the pictures is from Halo. Halo is such a monumental moment for NPC, for games. And if you think about the AI over there, they are really the next level of planning, doing, moving, and actually countering your move at sometimes, right? So, and if we look at Genshin Impact, which is a massive game happening right now, it's such a rich world. There are a lot of objects, a lot of creatures in the world that you can interact with. So that gives the players a really immersive experience about probably they're actually living in a new universe, interacting with the games. And one thing to think about those is those AI is actually very different from the AI we're talking about as of today. So those AI are not learning. So they are all handcrafted by game designers, by game engineers. They're just reacting based on what has been programmed into their brain, right? They're not learning. If we move forward a little bit to think about what's the AI today? The AI today, they are learning, they are adapting, and game industry is absorbing that into game development and game operation as well. So there are 2 examples over there. Pretty wide range of type of games. One is horror and pretty hardcore. The other one is pretty casual and sweet. But behind the scene, if you think about it, when you are interacting with, for example, fighting for zombie, there is a really important idea that's introduced to this game, Left 4 Dead specifically, which is the idea of a director AI. What it means is basically there is an AI observing the player, what the players are doing. And based on the player's performance and reaction, the director AI is going to decide what type of zombie and how to spawn those zombie to give the players more engaging experience, more intense experience, or maybe the player needs some time to take a breath, right? To just relax a little bit, recover a little bit, and then fight. So the AI is watching the player to give players a relevant experience at the right time. Very similar thinking. You think about Candy Crush, right? It's a very casual game. You sit down, you want to play, and each level, each job can be personalized so that it is the most engaging experience for you. Sometimes it's more challenging, sometimes you just want to chill over there, but behind the scene, the AI will be able to actually customize and personalize the experience for you. So that's a very powerful experience. It's actually very, very widely used in many of the games we see today, especially in the mobile and free-to-play space. If you're playing any of the mobile game, play any of the online gaming, probably there's a certain level of customization or personalization. Some AI director is watching you and presenting you, serving you the right dish at the right time. The same type of idea can apply for monetization, right? Free-to-play is still the most dominant business model for gaming as of today. And there are different schools of thinking about monetization in free-to-play. And some schools are more like, let's pressure the players. Let's create certain stress for the players so that they feel they need to purchase, the FOMO, other type of things. And there's another school, and very fortunately I've been working in game studios who's adopting a very different philosophy, which is, if we think about presenting the players with the right content, that the players has an option to purchase, right? The players has an option if they want to buy it, or they can get things in different ways. That's a very different school of thinking, but the important thing over there is present the players with the right content at the right time. Previously, we talked about the game experience. Now we're talking about in-game items. This is an example from League of Legends. In League of Legends, there is a Your Shop. So basically, at the right time, we're going to present the players with the right skin of the champion. You can think about skin as essentially the costume of the characters you play, right? So this is generated based on your play style, your purchase style, and it's also taking into account of the timing as well. When is a good time to actually present this? So this is a pretty broad, applicable way of doing monetization. Again, if you are playing any of the free-to-play game, if there is an online store over there in the game, in-app store, very likely there is this type of AI behind the scene operating that generates and presenting you the right content for monetization. So what's really fascinating about the personalization we talk about, Candy Crush, fighting zombie, and over here personalization is those AI are no longer handcrafted by an engineer or by a designer. Those AI are learning AIs. They are observing and they keep updating how they should be making decisions. That's a pretty fascinating progress in AI. Now, if we keep moving forward, we think about, okay, what happened over the past 2 years? Probably, unless you live under a rock, you probably heard about ChatGPT. You probably heard about some DALL-E or even some of the AI-generated arts. What has been happening over the past 2 years? Is the game industry isolated from this advancement in AI? Of course not. Game industry has been in the forefront of adopting a lot of those technology. From when AlphaGo actually beat the player in Go, the world champion in Go, to large language model, ChatGPT, to image generation. And game industry has been adopting a lot of the technologies. And this is a very concrete example. If you folks played any of the kind of the RPG game, or Japanese RPG, the Western RPG, there are some dialogue you're having with the NPC, and you choose if you want to say something, A, B, C, multiple choice, and that dictates some path of the game experience, right? It's very kind of a multiple choice thing, and they're all crafted. And that has been the experience of the RPG for the past 20, 30 years. Now, if we think about what's possible today, right? This is a demo from NVIDIA. So I don't know if you folks have seen that, have tried that. It's a ramen place. You walk in, there's a chef over there. You can have a free, open conversation with the chef. And you can talk about anything. Behind the scene, it's a large language model that can talk with you, very similar to ChatGPT, right? Now your experience in the game is no longer a box of multiple choice. You can have very rich interaction with any of the NPC. They have different personalities, they can do different things, they have different thinking. They can develop different experience and relationship with you. That's the future of interaction. I wouldn't say that's even the future of interaction is already happening in some of the games over there. So that's a pretty massive progress in video games using AI. Another really big thing about AI in the past few years is about art generation. It's about generating the art, generating the assets so that we can unleash the creativity of people, even if you don't know how to use Maya or Photoshop, things like that, right? So this is a great example from Scenario AI. This is an AI startup. Basically, you can just use English to describe what type of game assets you want to generate. You want to generate some of the characters or icon in sci-fi or medieval, all of those. Use your language to describe. And the AI will figure out how to generate those and generate those for you. And then you can import into your game to use it. So that's a pretty massive progress in AI as well. And it is already used in the game industry. When we think about games are creating universes, fantasies for our players. When we think about immersive experience, very often we think about multiplayer, online, MMO, RPG, all of those, World of Warcraft, those type of games. Those games are handcrafted and they're massive, they're big, they're limited in interaction over there actually. So, and very often you need to rely on real human-to-human interaction in those games, right? So in World of Warcraft, would you imagine you go to a server, actually there's no players over there, or the players are mean to you, right? So that's a very different experience. But today, with large language model, with art generation and everything, we can imagine a world where we can create rich interactions using the large language model so that the interaction with a real human versus the interaction with an NPC will be blurred. And you will have very engaging interactive experience even with the NPC because they have their personality, they can interact with you, and they can do a lot of stuff as your enemy, your friend, or even companion in this new world. So that opens up a whole new possibility for what's gonna be happening in the game industry. So we've been talking quite a bit about what are some of the new experiences that's possible in gaming with the introduction of AI, and we've been focusing on generative AI. Generative AI is just, I would say, the beginning of a bunch of new AI technology, right? And the experiences over there is really massive. But what I'm really excited about AI in gaming is I think it's going to fundamentally transform how we make games. So if we think about that way, we think about traditional game development team. Today, game development team are no longer like 3 folks in the garage try to jam out a game. We're talking about hundreds of developers on a single game, just developing that one game, or even thousands of developers, cross-discipline, engineers, designers, artists, testers, all of those folks actually together building a game. That's a massive industrialized group of making games happen. So the barriers of making new games is very high if you think about it, even with the iPhone, even with that platform. And one of the major reasons of that barrier is domain expertise. Right? So if you think about making a game, can you start doing concept art without an artist? Can you start programming without an engineer? Can you start designing a game with an experienced designer? With the progress in AI, AI is redefining what a game development team could look like. All the 3 pictures over there, they are not generated concept arts from an artist. These are AI-generated arts, right? You can, again, use your language, use your imagination to say, these are the words and universe I want to create. Show me and visualize for me what they could look like. And these are going to be happening, and you can use them to guide you and to actually thinking about how to generate and create a world in the game. With the concept, now you can actually create in game in a universe. This is an example from Roblox. As you probably can see on the left, there's no fancy UI that you need to kind of be an expert to use it. You use your language to describe what you want to generate in the game. In this case, it's a specific asset. You can decide what type of assets you want to generate, what type of style. You can tweak it using your language, using your imagination. And then this asset is directly usable in the game. So which is a very monumental moment that your imagination is unlocked from mechanical skills or some of the domain expertise in order to realize your dream. So if we go to next, and what if I haven't designed a game? What if I'm not a designer? Now you have either a mentor or a companion or someone you can bounce idea with. So that this is example, just ChatGPT. You can think about what type of game you want to make. And you can prompt ChatGPT to say, please help me. You are a game designer with experience in a certain genre. You made certain games, successful, some failures, whatever. Now let's have a conversation. Help me to design a game. And this is an interactive conversation will help you to get started in making game design, which is very powerful. And another big piece, we have heard many stories about Silicon Valley startups. We have all the business folks, we have everyone. We just need an engineer to make it work. And yeah, we need someone to do the programming, but now we have a good way to get started because games are softwares and games need engineering. But today, in order to get started, English is becoming the most powerful programming language, right? English is becoming the most powerful programming language. It's not just English, it's a language we humans speak around the world. Now we can use our language and tell AI what we want to do. And they're gonna generate programs and they're gonna generate code for us. It's not gonna be the most robust code if you want to have 100 million players, the most scalable code, right? But it will get you started there. And it will be able to make a lot of small game companies have a really fast start if they want to do programming. So combining all of those, what I'm really excited about is think about what a new game development team could look like in the era of AI. Do you need 200, a huge team for building a bunch of assets, building a bunch of like programming and design, everything, or a smaller team? Or if you think about in the past, people think about Supercell is a miracle, right? Supercell has 20, 30 people, they can start building games. That probably will be a new norm. And what's even more exciting is game developers will be able to unleash their creativity regardless of their specialty. People who are designers, now they can start jam on arts. They can start try things for programming. So they can basically realize their imagination in a way that they couldn't before. An artist who probably never programmed, they can start thinking about other ways of gaming, other ways of kind of putting code into a certain platform, a certain format. So all of those are enabled by gaming. So game development is going to be much more accessible for everyone. So I think that is the most exciting part about AI in gaming. In addition to what type of experience is possible, it's about what type of people and how many more talent and people and imagination can come into this industry and create more possibilities. So I'll wrap up this talk with just a small story over here. This happened over here in the United States almost exactly 200 years ago, right? That was on the day there was a race with a locomotive, with a horse. And on that day, the horse actually won the competition. And that happened when it was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. I think we're very excited today. We're at the beginning of an intelligence revolution, right? AI is going to reshape how we think, how we do things, how we unleash our creativity, and how we define what's possible in the future. And there are a lot of uncertainties about what's going to happen with AI in gaming. But what I'm very confident about is AI is going to be reshaping what type of gaming is possible and how we're going to be making games. And I would love to invite all of you folks to be part of the journey, because now making game and being part of the gaming has never been this accessible before. Thank you. Yes, we can take a few questions.
Yeah, the technology is really exciting. Like you said, anybody can get involved in the process, which is very cool. But do you feel like there should be an upper limit to the use of the technology, especially when you think about preserving the human involvement in the development process?
Absolutely, that's such a great question. There are two things I've been thinking quite a bit, right? So the AI, the reason why AI is becoming so powerful today is because of us, humans, right? They are learning the human creativity and they're created by humans. And if you think about AI, how they're generated is by training and learning from human data, right? So I think that is a really big piece. I've been thinking quite a bit. I think that's also a huge piece people have been discussing in the community. We should always and make sure that we recognize and celebrate and actually share the fair share of that contribution for human creativity, right? ChatGPT is not just coming from nowhere. It's learning human wisdom and human data from the world. The image generation model, why those images are so awesome, they're learning from artists. Our artists and our writers and our game developers, they should have the fair share of their creativity. I think that should be something moving forward as well. So has always been a debate, but I firmly believe we should have regulations, we should have the right way so that humans will have the fair share to have all of those success in AI. And the second piece I think is most important is I think the technology will be able to unleash our creativity even further, right? So we'll be able to focus on the more creative part of it. Think about many years ago when only a few awesome artists can draw someone's profile, right? So they actually have to draw it, and there are just a few people can do it. Now with all of technology, a lot of people can be creating awesome arts, digital or even other ways. And think about TikTok, right? Just 30 years ago, if you want to make a movie, you want to make some type of content, and you probably need to be a big production company, or probably need to have a bunch of resources. Today, some of the most influential content providers, content creators, they use this technology so they can create tons of things. So the way I think about AI is, I think human creativity will be basically unblocked by a lot of this. But again, a lot of things needs to be figured out, copyright, how to put human in the center of it, as well as how to make sure that human creativity and human contributors take the fair share of this AI economy. And I'm very optimistic about where we're trending there.
Yeah. Hi. My question is, what have you found to be one of the most successful examples of generative AI with regards to world building? And what are your thoughts on the price point right now? Do you feel like it's affordable, or do you feel like it still has a lot more it can go down to make it more accessible?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is still a new technology. So when you think about new technology, there are a few things over there. One is the scale of it, right? So when this is a new technology, for example, you probably heard the news about OpenAI. They are even struggling to figure out how to break even, right? Because running a large language model, running an AI model is expensive. You need massive data centers, compute, GPU to generate conversation naturally with human and images as well, right? It's expensive, so the scale is catching up. And a lot of hardware companies are actually doing that. NVIDIA, all of those companies, they are trying to actually catch up with the scale so that the cost will go down. I think that another big part, you just asked about what's an amazing use case. I know a lot of companies are investing in the space. HoYoverse, you probably played Genshin Impact, which is pretty massive, right? They have massive AI investment, and they're generating a lot of content over there. It's not everything is generated yet, but they're doing a lot of stuff over there. And a lot of the game engines, if you think about Unreal, think about Unity, they are generating a lot of those type of capability for game developers to do it. I would say, I don't think there is a killer app yet in the world of AI-generated work, right? People probably think about No Man's Sky, things like that, but they're not really the just traditional procedural generation. They haven't fully embraced the AI-generated work yet. I think that's exactly the opportunity for a lot of the players in game industry, right? Before World of Warcraft, there are other type of games that never reached that type of experience. I think generative AI in the world of open world and world building, that's exactly the opportunity that a lot of game companies are actually going after at this point. But I think you're absolutely right. We haven't got there. We haven't got that killer app.
Hey, how you doing? I joined a little late, so I just got to see you giving a demonstration of the chat that you were doing to create the assets. I'd
Yep.
like to know what was that program, and I'll say it's very interesting to me as someone who creates gaming assets and who makes video games to be able to use these processes because I'm not EA Sports and I'm not a team of 200 people. Therefore, AI serves to benefit people like me who can actually get my business started, iterated, and be able to bring my products to the world and to my community, right? So with that being said, what were you using?
Thank you for the comments. That's a scenario, that's called scenario.gg, scenario AI. So, and if you look at, so that's just one example. We have Leonardo AI, there are a lot of other toolings over there. But the idea exactly as you mentioned, right? Smaller teams, now they're much more capable and they're much more powerful so that they could be go into a competition with the big players in the world. So I think that's a promise of this new technology.
Sorry, you mentioned in the last question, was talking about the benefits in terms of smaller companies, obviously finding a more level playing field. What's the converse of that for, let's say, the big companies, Riot, Blizzard, whomever? Are they going to have a reduction in workforce because of the opportunity here?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the data is showing, in general, I think there's a survey actually from UK. The data is showing that it's not just in gaming, in general, the adoption of AI technology over the past 2 years created more job opportunities in the space, right? So, and the reason being, the company can now attack a lot of new opportunities and business possibilities over there. So I think one idea about AI is it improves just efficiency, right? If you go with that lens, for sure, you have more efficiency, you probably don't need that much people. But another big opportunity for AI is it expands what's possible as a business opportunity. I think that those are the opportunities for Blizzard and Riot. I work with both companies. I think even with thousands of developers, we constantly deprioritize a lot of opportunities, right? We constantly were like, oh, we just don't have enough people to do those. And that idea is too risky. We don't want to try it. We don't want to put 20 people on something for 6 months. With AI technology, those incubation, those exploration, and new opportunities is become more feasible for the big companies. The big companies do need to figure out a bunch of decision making out of those big company things, right? So, but I think for them, it's also a bigger opportunity, but they will have very strong competition for sure, because now the small players, they have a more level play field. Thank you for the question. That's a really great one.
You have time for one more question.
Okay, one more question.
I'll ask, the scenario.gg, was that voice to what you wanted to generate, or was that text?
So for that specific scenario GG, that is game asset generation. So basically, you type in what you want to generate, it will generate a bunch of things for you to choose from. And there are other tools for voice generation, right? So, and there are actually a lot of, if you just Google search, like voice generation, there are a bunch of things that will be popping out. Actually, ChatGPT is adding multi-model capability right now. So they're going to be able to see the picture and listen to you and even generate audio for you. So that is becoming pretty widely usable. So if you want to try it, just try it on ChatGPT. That could be a good starting point. And from there, if you want to generate specific things, because I have some friends who wants to generate vocal voice, right? For music and other things, those are all possible as well. So yeah, can feel free to explore them there. But start with ChatGPT could be a good, really fun space to do.
Yeah, because I just kind of wait for the point until, maybe somebody has a microphone or a headset on and they're standing in their office and they're creating a full-fledged, movie or video game, and they're just looking at the couple of screens that they're working with, and I wonder when we're going to get to that point. Somebody is just pacing back and forth, saying, hey, ChatGPT, please do this. No, you know what? Change this a little bit, and then take away having to actually type, when we get to that next step of voice.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the voice to text is very mature right now, right? There are a lot of technology for that. But the dream you just described, that's a dream for many of us. So basically describe and we'll have generate the whole experience for you. We're not there yet. Right? So there's a lot of technology. And another big part is, I don't know if some of those will be solved by technology because we humans need to put a lot of input and creativity into those. So we'll always be part of that. I think that's the way I see it. But the interface, as you mentioned, will be very different and we're getting there very soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.